Joining me now is broadcaster and commentator Diane Dee Dee Dunleavy. Fantastic to have you
Hello,
with us.
Lisa. Nice to be with you.
Now, it's been a momentous weekend because Princess Kate is back. She made her long-awaited return to public life, appearing on the Buckingham Palace balcony for Trooping the Colour, the King's birthday parade with her husband, Prince William, their children. It's the first time we've seen her since Christmas as she undergoes treatment for cancer. Dee Dee, I know you were thrilled to see Kate back and looking radiant, it must be said.
She absolutely was, and I think the stamina also to stay on her feet for, it must have been at least an hour or more than an hour. And I think it was really important, not just to the people, and you could see how much it meant to the people who'd lined up in the pouring rain to watch her and support her and cheer for her, but to just for the unification of the country. It gives England something to be proud of, something to look to. And I did read some criticism about, oh, there's only a small number of them up on the balcony now. Well, we only need a small number. We only need Kate and William, I think, and little Louis. Like, he's everything, isn't he?
He is my favourite. I always say I just want to make him king already. I know he's not in line. But yeah, all eyes were on, obviously, Princess Kate, but Louis still managed to steal the show. He did a little dance on the palace balcony.
Of F Company's Scots Guards. So we enjoying boogieing along to that.
But Princess Charlotte didn't seem too happy with his antics. Can you believe this? There are actual lip readers who are now giving the media an account of the exchange between the siblings. And apparently Charlotte said to Louis, "You have to stop doing that. Watch the parade." And Louis said, "I won't." And then Charlotte said, "Do as you're told," and Louis responded with "Nope." So I love this kid's spirit.
Are we surprised by any of this? Although this is ironic, isn't it? Because he's the kind of the wild one, which is what Harry was.
Yeah.
And I think this is why everyone's so disappointed with how the situation has ended up with Harry, because we all loved him as the youngster.
He was the most popular along with the Queen, wasn't he?
Louis. He was the one who was breaking all the rules and being the naughty boy until he got within the clutches of the jam maker.
The jam maker. Well, let's talk about Harry and Meghan, because they weren't there, and they've bemoaned to People magazine that they weren't invited to Trooping the Colour. And they did announce just hours before Kate's big return that their lifestyle brand is now doing dog treats and raspberry jam. I'm not sure how productive this venture is, Dee Dee, because it seems to just be jars of jam that they're sending to their famous mates who then post them on Instagram. Is that really a sound business model?
I don't think it is. Here's the other big problem with it. So there was this news that Meghan had apparently invented some new incredible new jam.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it turns out that it was raspberry. Up until that point, she'd only done a strawberry. But it gets worse. She's only made 2 jars of this raspberry jam. But look, jokes aside, she wouldn't have given a flying about the Trooping of the Colour.
Yeah.
But Harry would have, because his military service was always incredibly important to him. And, you know, he served 2 tours of Afghanistan. To not be invited and to not be part of that would have really hurt him. And for Kate, and I think this is a big part of the reason it was so important for her to be there, from her point of view, was that she's, I think, an honorary colonel of the Irish Guards. And she wanted to be there in order to thank those people for their service.
Yeah, I didn't realise that. And there wasn't much build-up. I think she announced it the day before that she was going to be there. So
yeah, which is extraordinary, because with anything royal, the planning happens, you know, weeks, months, if not years in advance. So they obviously were doing as much as they could to be able to fit her into that day. Yeah.
And I think she also mentioned that she's just going to do more as she feels fit to do it.
Yeah.
So obviously it's still, the treatment is still having, as it would, a cancer treatment, having quite an impact on her.
I do think, and I absolutely agree that she should be allowed privacy while she goes through the treatment, but I do think it would be helpful for her at some point to come out and talk about what her experience has been. We still don't know exactly what has been wrong with her, because I think that would give strength to other people who are going through.
I think she will. I think maybe at the end of once she's through this, she may open up about precisely what happened. Now to Sydney, and a comedian, Jerry Seinfeld, fired back at an anti-Israeli protester who disrupted his show last night.
We have a genius, ladies and gentlemen. He solved the Middle East. He solved it. It's the Jewish comedians. That's who we have to get. They're the ones doing everything. Yeah, go ahead, keep going. They're going to start punching you in about 3 seconds, so I would try and get all of your genius out so we can all learn from you.
He makes a good point there. Why is his show being disrupted by these pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli protesters? Is it just because he's Jewish? Are Jews not allowed to be pro-Israel without having their livelihoods impacted? It seems very strange to spend presumably hundreds of dollars to buy a ticket to be there and then to pull that.
Well, it shows their lack of power in this situation, that they have to use Jerry Seinfeld in order to amplify their message that they want. But the thing that I found really interesting with that clip that we've seen was the reaction from the audience. And I think what that does is sum up the way people are feeling. We're not without compassion. Anyone who's going through a war in their homeland, we certainly feel for them. But don't bring anger and don't ruin someone's night in order to make your point. I think people are getting very sick of protests and of people being persecuted and made to feel fear here in Australia, which is a peaceful country. Don't bring a war from somewhere else into our country. And that was an example of it happening at that show.
Absolutely. There was not much support for him at all.
No.
Now, an explosive new book into David and Victoria Beckham's marriage is about to hit the shelves, and it's casting doubts on the loved-up couple, the image they portrayed during that Netflix documentary Beckham. Tom Bauer will allege Brand Beckham is basically a business relationship as opposed to a happy marriage, with separate PR reps who wage media wars occasionally. And this all came about after David's infidelity. We've heard all about that. And they stayed together, apparently, Dee Dee, to protect the brand. Now, I know you loved the doco, you've watched it.
Yep.
Do you buy this interpretation of what their marriage is?
No, I don't want to hear a word against Posh and Beck. So I was just watching a nice little Instagram video he put up. He was growing some spring onions for Victoria.
You are buying the Beckham propaganda
The
completely.
previous one, he was growing her a beautiful pink rose and she was out there with him in the garden. Look, my first thought when I saw this story was this was some sort of dispute between these two when they were living on separate continents doing their particular jobs 9 years ago. And I just thought, if this is all this Tom Bauer has got, to bring up a fight that this couple had 9 years ago, he got nothing. The documentary is everything. You will not damage Brand Beckham any worse than they did themselves with that vile wedding they had, you know, with the purple and the regal. Yeah.
No, I don't memory hold that. Dee Dee Dunlevy, thank you so much for your time
My
this evening.
pleasure, Rita. Thanks for having me.